session, we'll talk about eukaryotic transcription in detail, right? So, topic number 6.5.3, it is eukaryotic transcription. It is eukaryotic transcription, right children? Right. In eukaryotic transcription, we tell that in the previous lecture we discussed bacterial transcription. Eukaryotic transcription is little similar with 2 or 3 complexities, 2 or 3 differences. The first difference is in bacteria there is no nucleus. So, replication, transcription, translation, everything in the same compartment. But in eukaryotes, organelles are there, nucleus is there. That means in eukaryote, replication also inside the nucleus, transcription also inside the nucleus. So, that is first difference, right? So, what is the location? The location of eukaryotic transcription is inside the nucleus since it has nucleus. So, it is inside the nucleus, means so DNA gets converted to RNA in eukaryotes where? In the nucleus, okay. Then direction, it is 5 to 3 only. So, polarity we tell. So, the polarity, the direction of synthesis of RNA is from 5 prime to the 3 prime, and we will tell. In prokaryotes, we told that all the 3 RNAs are synthesized by one common RNA polymerase. But here, it is not the case. 3 different enzymes will synthesize 3 different RNAs, that in the nucleus. In eukaryotes, we have DNA inside the organelles also. That means the organelle RNA polymerases are different. That means how many enzymes are there? 3 enzymes for synthesizing mRNA, rRNA, tRNA. In addition, it has RNA polymerase which is found in the organelles also. So, when we have to talk about enzymes, we can tell that 3 different enzymes, 3 different enzymes in the nucleus we find. 3 different enzymes in the nucleus in addition to the RNA polymerase found in the organelles. In addition to the RNA polymerase. Where is the RNA polymerase found? RNA polymerase found in organelles. We know that if it is a eukaryotic structure, membrane bound structures will be there. Mitochondria contains its own DNA, chloroplast contains its own DNA. It will take care of its own replication and transcription. So, organelle DNA, organelle RNA polymerase is separate. Mitochondrial RNA polymerase is separate. Chloroplast RNA polymerase is separate. The RNA polymerase making mRNA separate, tRNA separate, rRNA separate. So, that means there are different enzymes. Means there is clear-cut division of labor in eukaryotic transcription. So, we can tell that there is clear-cut division of labor. Means one enzyme will do one RNA synthesis, one enzyme will do one RNA synthesis, like that. If we have to talk about the first one called RNA polymerase 1. RNA pol 1 will do the synthesis of rRNA, So, rRNA will make eukaryotic ribosomes. Eukaryotic ribosome is of 80S. Eukaryotic ribosome is of 80S. The smaller subunit is 40S. The bigger subunit is 60S. The smaller subunit has 16S, a smaller subunit has 18S rRNA with 30 proteins. So, 60S has one 5S rRNA, it has one 5.8S rRNA, it has one 28S rRNA, and it has 50 proteins. This is the composition of the eukaryotic ribosome. In eukaryotic ribosome, smaller subunit is 40, bigger subunit is 60. 40S is made up of 16S rRNA inside, 18S. So this is the 18S rRNA. 60S contains one 5S RNA, one 5.8S RNA and one 28S RNA. So we are telling that RNA pol 1 will synthesize rRNAs. Which rRNAs are synthesized by pol 1? RNA polymerase 1 will synthesize 18S. It will synthesize 5.8S. It will also synthesize 28S. But RNA pol 1 will not synthesize 5S. RNA pol 1 will not synthesize 5S. It will be synthesized by pol 3. So we understood RNA polymerase 1 will synthesize rRNAs. Now the next enzyme is RNA polymerase 2 of eukaryotes. RNA polymerase 2 of eukaryotes will synthesize hnRNA, heteronuclear RNA, which after maturation it becomes mRNA. hnRNA means heteronuclear RNA. After maturation it gets converted to mRNA. So hnRNA is a precursor of mRNA. Now third enzyme is RNA polymerase 3 will synthesize. I told you this 5S RNA which is not synthesized by pol 1 will be done by pol 3. So let us write down. It synthesizes 5S rRNA. mRNA synthesis this is doing, RNA synthesis this is doing, we are left with tRNA. So tRNAs are synthesized by pol 3 along with snRNAs. It can also synthesize snRNAs, small nuclear RNAs. So what do you mean by snRNA? Small nuclear RNAs which have a catalytic power. If the small RNAs which are synthesized they are inside the nucleus, call them as snRNAs. If they move into the cytoplasm, call them as scRNAs. Not only snRNAs, snRNAs if they go to cytoplasm it makes scRNA also. So scRNA is also synthesized by pol 3 then. So what is scRNA? Small cytoplasmic RNA. So now come on, tell me. We told there is division of labor. 1,1 RNA is synthesized by 1,1 RNA polymerase. So rRNAs are synthesized by pol 1. mRNA is synthesized by pol 2. tRNA with this left out 5 RNA. snRNA, small RNAs like snRNAs and scRNAs are synthesized by pol 3. So these are the three enzymes which are there inside the nucleus. Organelle RNAs are still there. Mitochondrial RNA is there and chloroplast RNA is there. Let us write down. Mitochondrial RNA polymerase is also there. Chloroplast RNA polymerase is also there. Mitochondrial RNA polymerase is similar to the RNA polymerase of the bacteriophage, whereas chloroplast RNA polymerase is similar to the RNA polymerase of bacteria. What it will do? It will synthesize the transcription process in mitochondria and chloroplast. But where it is relevant to, it is similar to bacteriophage RNA polymerase. This is similar to chloroplast RNA polymerase. So write down. Mitochondrial RNA polymerase is similar to, bacteriophage. Virus which infects bacteria is called bacteriophage. It is similar to bacteriophage RNA polymerase, and mitochondrial RNA polymerase will do the RNA synthesis inside the mitochondria. Chloroplast RNA polymerase will do the RNA synthesis inside the chloroplast, and this chloroplast RNA polymerase will be similar to the bacterial RNA polymerase. Will be similar to the bacterial RNA polymerase. So this is about the first point, the deviation from the bacteria. We told in bacteria one enzyme can do the synthesis of all the RNAs, but not the case here. We told there is a clear-cut division of labor, and one RNA polymerase will synthesize one RNA, next one will synthesize next one will synthesize next one. In bacteria there is no organelles, but in eukaryotes there are organelles. So then organelle RNA polymerases are also there, like mitochondrial RNA polymerase and chloroplast RNA polymerase. This is one difference. Other one is in bacteria the transcription happens in the cytoplasm, but in eukaryotes it happens inside the nucleus. Understood? Now the next difference what we have to discuss is these RNA polymerases, eukaryotic RNA polymerases, are also having many subunits. In bacteria you told 2 alpha subunits are there, 1 beta prime, 1 omega is there. Here also there are many subunits. There were only 5 are there. Here the RNA polymerases are made up of 8 to 12 subunits. The RNA polymerases are made up of how many? They are made up of 8 to 12 subunits. Eukaryotic RNA polymerases. So, eukaryotic RNA polymerases are made up of 8 to 12 subunits. Okay. Then, if you want to take the screenshot, take down. In the next part, we will continue the steps of eukaryotic transcription. Right. Replication, transcription, translation in eukaryotes occurs in the cell cycle. So, when will transcription, in which part of the cell cycle transcription will occur in eukaryotes? Means it occurs in the G1 phase and in the G2 phase, right? In S phase DNA will replicate. So, in the G1 phase and G2 phase transcription occurs. So, we can tell that the major part of transcription, the major part of transcription in eukaryotes occurs in the G1 and G2 phases. It occurs because in eukaryotes only cell cycle is there, in prokaryotes cell cycle is not there. In eukaryotes, in S phase replication will happen. In the G1 phase and the G2 phase transcription will occur. This is one more difference. And I told you there is a region called promoter region where initiation starts. There is a region called termination where terminator starts. And then I told you we have separate promoters for eukaryotes and we have separate promoters for prokaryotes. Now, if we have to talk about the initiation, there are 3 steps. The first step is initiation. So, during initiation, we will tell that the RNA polymerase, the respective RNA polymerase, it binds with the sigma factor. It binds with the sigma factor and locates, and it specifically locates the promoter sequence. And it specifically locates the promoter sequence. Now, it specifically locates the promoter sequence. What are the eukaryotic promoters now? Eukaryotic promoters are, one is at minus 20 base pair sequence, one is at minus 70 to 80 base pair sequence, right? So, because it is upstream, so we give a minus signal there, okay, minus symbol there. So, one promoter is at minus 20 base pair sequence. It is called as, it has Tata 80 sequence and it is called as Tata box we can call. We can also call it as Hogness box. We can also call it as Hogness box. I told T and A, 2 hydrogen bonds will be there. It can easily break up. So, it can easily unwind. So, one promoter sequence in eukaryotes is located at minus 20. In prokaryotes, it is minus 10. In eukaryotes, it is minus 20 and it is called as Hogness box. There we are calling Pribnow box. Tata box, there also you can use, here also you can use. Another promoter sequence is at minus 70 to minus 80 base pair sequence. It is called cat box. It is called as cat box. Where is it? It's at minus 70 to minus 80 sequence. Okay. So, this is initiation. Now, coming to elongation. Coming to elongation, core enzyme will do elongation. The same thing this is. Core enzyme will add, what it will add? It will add nucleoside triphosphates and it polymerizes RNA. And it polymerizes RNA. It continues the RNA synthesis. And third step is termination. Third step is termination. So, when the terminator sequence reaches, when the terminator sequence approaches, when the terminator sequence approaches, rho factor helps in termination. Same, these points are same. They help in termination of the process. Okay now. So initiation, elongation, termination are as it is, and after transcription from DNA in eukaryotes, we got RNA. So the RNA which is formed after transcription in eukaryotes, is non-functional RNA. So this is the RNA which is formed. I am telling it is non-functional RNA. Since it is non-functional RNA, we need to call it as a primary transcript. It is non-functional RNA. You can also call it as primary transcript, or you can also call it as HN RNA, heteronuclear RNA. So the RNA which is immediately formed after transcription in eukaryotes is non-functional. It's immature. We can also call it as immature RNA. Immature RNA, primary transcript. Okay, inactive RNA. So many names they are getting. It is inactive RNA. Now, this RNA which is immediately formed after transcription should undergo post-transcriptional modifications. So this RNA which is formed should undergo post-transcriptional modifications. It should undergo post-transcriptional modifications to become a functional RNA. It will become a functional RNA. Write all the opposites. It will become secondary transcript. It will become secondary transcript. It will become matured RNA. It will become active RNA. All these are the names, just I wrote the opposites. So in bacteria, this step is not there. Processing is not required because introns are not there. So in eukaryotes, the product which is formed immediately after transcription is called as primary transcript. It's immature, it's non-functional, and it is inactive RNA. So you should do processing now. What is that called? Post-transcriptional modifications to convert into an active, matured, functional secondary transcript RNA. So now, where does the post-transcriptional modifications occurs in eukaryotes? We told transcription inside the nucleus, no. Then post-transcriptional modifications also inside the nucleus only. So post-transcriptional modifications also occur inside the nucleus. Post-transcriptional modifications also occurs inside the nucleus. Now let us see what modifications we need to do for mRNA, rRNA and tRNA. If you want to take the screenshot, yeah, just take the screenshot. We talked about the major part of transcription in eukaryotes occurs in the cell cycle. So in which phases of cell cycle means G1 and G2. Then we told the 3 steps are initiation, elongation, termination. Sigma factor is required for initiation. Now the eukaryotic RNA promoters are, one is at -20 base pair sequence upstream end, it is called as Tata box, it is also called Hogness box. The other one is at -70 to -80 base pair sequence, which is called Cat box. Since A and T sequences are more, the number of hydrogen bonds are less, you can easily unwind it, open it. Elongation, the same thing, the building blocks are added and the RNA gets polymerized. When the terminator sequence approaches, rho factor will come and it stops the process and the nascent RNA falls down. Then the process is called transcription. RNA is made. The product after RNA is primary transcript. It's non-functional. You need to do post-transcriptional modifications to make a matured RNA. Now we will see post-transcriptional modifications in detail. Where will post-transcriptional modification occur? Post-transcriptional modification will occur inside the nucleus. So we will first talk about the post-transcriptional modification in mRNA, because mRNA is the one which is copying the message, right? So what are the steps of post-transcriptional modifications for mRNA? Post-transcriptional modifications in RNA or mRNA, right? So if we have to see the post-transcriptional modifications, green, yeah, red and blue. Now, this is the terminator sequence, right? So, terminator sequence, we need to show it with green. This is the terminator sequence. Now, when the terminator sequence approaches, we can tell that this is the RNA polymerase with all the subunits. The RNA polymerase with all the subunits, and the RNA is like this. The RNA is like this. It is having some non-coding regions. The non-coding regions are called as introns. The non-coding regions are called introns. So, this is the 5' end of the RNA and this is the 3' end of the RNA. So, the one which you got here is called as primary transcript. Now, what are the modifications? 3 steps we need to do. One is capping, next one is splicing, third one is trailing. First, we will go for what is capping. What is capping? This is the information, this is a complete information what the RNA has copied from the DNA. What the RNA has copied from the DNA. Since this is very much essential information, now from the nucleus, when this comes out, when the RNA which is synthesized in the nucleus, when it comes out, it will be treated as a foreign particle and enzymes will try to break it off. So, where is the RNA made? Inside the nucleus. Where it has to go? To the ribosomes. Where are the ribosomes present? In the cytoplasm. The one which is made inside the nucleus, when it goes out, the cell will treat it as a foreign and it will try to cleave it off. The nucleases enzymes want to cleave off the RNA. So, it has to protect its 5' end and 3' end from the exonucleases. At the 5' end, it will keep a cap and go. For the pen, to protect the nib, we kept a cap. Like that, here also a cap will be made. So, capping, during capping, one enzyme will come. What is that enzyme? Guanyl transferase. What will this guanyl transferase enzyme do? The guanyl transferase will add an unusual base. It's not a simple guanine. It will add a unusual 7-methyl guanosine. It will bring an unusual base called 7-methyl guanosine and adds to the 5' end. That means to this 5' end, so guanine with 3 phosphates which is having methyl group, at 7th place it is having methyl group, will come and join. Now, keeping just one methyl group, will make it resistant to the enzyme. Exonuclease cannot come and cleave it. So, anything which is methylated, the enzyme cannot touch it, the enzyme cannot break it. So, it knows it, that's why it has kept cap here. The first one is capping. Guanyl transferase will make an unusual guanine called 7-methyl guanosine and it adds that guanine to the 5' end, that is called as capping. Now, what is the second step? The second step will be called as splicing. The second step is called as splicing. What happens during splicing? This is exon, this is intron, exon, intron, exon, intron. So, exons are coding regions, introns are non-coding regions. So, what do you mean by exon? Exon is a coding region. It codes for an amino acid. Then, what is intron? Intron is a non-coding region. It doesn't code for any amino acid. An unnecessary region. Intron is also called IVS, intervening sequences. It is also called intervening sequences. Now, I am taking class, someone comes and disturbs me, I will go out, again I will come back, again someone comes and disturbs me. So, like that, exons are coding regions, but the exons are interfered by the introns which are non-coding regions which should be removed off, right. So, that removal of introns and joining of exons is called as splicing. This step is called as splicing. Now, who will mediate splicing? Splicing is mediated by, if you remember, Pol III will synthesize snRNA. So, that snRNA will combine with proteins. The snRNA will combine with proteins to make snRNPs. If these two combine, you will get snRNPs. You can also call them as SNURPs, SNURPs. We also call that association as SNURPs. snRNAs combine with snRNPs to make SNURPs. to make SNRPs. Now these SNRPs will make a complex called spliceosomes. Now SNRPs are how many? U1, U2, U3, U4, U5. How many types of SNRPs are there? How many types of combinations are there? We have 5 types. So we have U1, U2, U3, U4, U5. Now these 5, if they are combining to make complexes, that is called spliceosome. These SNRPs will combine to make spliceosome. Will combine to make spliceosome. Spliceosome helps in splicing. Spliceosome helps in splicing. Now, if we have to see if we have to see this region, so I used exon, joined by introns, intron and the intron, right? So this is exon, coding region. This is intron, non-coding region. Again an exon, coding region. Again an intron, non-coding region. Again an exon, coding region. 5' end and 3' end, right? So now the intron's 5' region has AG and 3' region has GU region. The intron's 5' end has AG region and the 3' end has GU region. Here also AG region and GU region. So these regions, the 5' end of intron and 3' end of introns, are recognized by spliceosomes. What will these spliceosomes do? The spliceosomes recognize the 5' end of intron, 3' end of intron, and U1 here, U2 here, U4 here, U5 here, U3 here, spliceosome. So U1, U2, U4, U5 and U3 is making a complex, that's called spliceosome. U1, U2, U4, U5, U3, spliceosome. So they identify the introns and then they make a complex. Now in this process what happens, you know, they loop the introns. So this is exon. So because of these spliceosome combinations, the introns are looped off. See, this is the intron region, right? The spliceosome has looped it off. The spliceosome has looped it off. Then they can cut off also. They will remove off the introns also. So when this, in the next picture, what happens? The introns are looped off. The introns are removed off. When the introns are removed off, then what happens? Exon 1, exon 2, exon 3. Exon 1, exon 2, exon 3. When these introns are removed off, they will join. So you need an enzyme called DNA ligase to join this. So then DNA ligase will come and join this exon 1 with exon 2 and this exon 3. Already 5' methyl guanosine cap is there. And now in the splicing, in the next step, we remove the introns. Again, listen, removal of introns is called splicing. Splicing is mediated by snRNAs. snRNA, RNA is cutting RNA. snRNA combines with proteins to make snRNPs. snRNPs are commonly called as SNRPs. So how many types of SNRPs are there? U1, U2, U3, U4, U5 are there. They make complexes which are called spliceosomes. They make complexes which are called spliceosomes. So this is the RNA and this is the intron here, this is the intron here. The 5' end of the intron and the 3' end of the intron are identify these spliceosomes. They come and they make a spliceosome complex here, which in turn what they'll do? So they will coil the intron. They will loop off. They are looping the introns. They loop off the introns and they will trim off the introns. The introns are trimmed off and the exons are joined. This process is called as splicing. So that's the second step. Now coming to the third step under post-transcriptional modifications is tailing. The third step is called tailing. Capping guanyl transferase will add methyl guanosine, unusual base at the 5' end. Anything which is methylated is resistant to the action of nucleases, exonucleases. Splicing, we have seen here in detail, it's a removal of introns. The third one is tailing. Now this is the 3' end. At the 3' end, also it has an essential information. You don't want any exonuclease to come and cleave it off. So how it will do, how it will protect its 3' end means in tailing, in a template independent manner. In template independent manner. In template independent manner. Template means DNA. On the DNA bases are there, then only RNA gets added. It's not like that. In a template independent manner, 200 to 300 A's are added. 200 to 300 A's are added to the 3' end. 200 A's to 300 A's are added to the 3' end. So, what enzyme will add it? The enzyme is called poly A polymerase. Poly A polymerase keeps on adding 200 to 300 A's in a template independent manner to the 3' end of the mRNA. So that, like this, it's up to your energy. How many you want, you can write it. So like this, the 3' end of the mRNA has 200 to 300 A's. These A's are added in a template independent manner by an enzyme called poly A polymerase. If at all, if any exonuclease dares and comes and tries to cleave it also, A's are only broken. It's not having any information. And if you break ATP, you get energy. The cell will get energy. So it is also good only. So like that, what comes under post-transcriptional modifications? Capping, this enzyme will do. Splicing, I showed in detail. Tailing, poly A polymerase in template independent manner to the 3' end. It keeps on adding 200 to 300 A's. So this is about post-transcriptional modifications in mRNA. Then this is called as functional RNA. This is called as functional RNA, matured RNA. It is matured RNA. Want to take the screenshot? Take it fast. Yes. Now we will see what post-transcriptional modifications we can expect in tRNA also. This is the transcriptional modification in mRNA. Now if we have to see quickly, now if you see tRNA cloverleaf model proposed by Robert Holley for tRNA, so we see some unusual bases in tRNA also which get added during this step only. Right? So, a cell, nucleus, DNA, RNA is made. This RNA has undergone capping, has undergone tailing, everything. Now this is the processed RNA. This is the processed mRNA. Where is the post-transcriptional modification happen? Inside the nucleus. Then it comes out into the cytoplasm. It comes out into the cytoplasm, comes and binds to the ribosomes. This RNA comes and binds to the ribosomes, starts translation. Now what modifications will happen for tRNA? We will see. Now if you see the tRNA structure, tRNA structure, 5' end and 3' end. This loop is called dihydrouridine loop. This loop is called T-Cy-C loop. Now, dihydrouridine, your acyl will not have hydrogens. If you are adding dihydrouridine, you have done modification. When are you doing that modification? In post-transcriptional modification. So, addition of dihydrouridine happened during post-transcriptional modifications. And there is inosine also. Inosine is a modified base we get from adenine. In some places in tRNA, we have inosine also, which comes also during post-transcriptional modifications only. Actually, RNA should not have T. If T is there, it is modified. So, this presence of T also came during post-transcriptional modifications only. Then what is Cy? Cy stands for pseudouridine. A modified uridine called pseudouridine also came during post-transcriptional modifications only. So, formation of inosine, formation of dihydrouridine, formation of pseudouridine, formation of thymidine, and the 3' end of tRNA bears a sequence called CCA. If the 3' end of tRNA has CCA, then only the amino acid can identify and it will come and tag here. So, tRNA has to carry amino acids. So, if it has to carry amino acids, when can amino acid identify? How can it come and link? When the 3' end of tRNA has CCA sequence, means during post-transcriptional modification, tRNA at the 3' end will add 3 bases, CCA bases. That is the first point. Taking thymine, second modification. Making pseudouridine, third modification. Formation of inosine by deamination of adenine, fourth modification. Formation of dihydrouridine is the next modification. All these are the modifications of tRNA. So with this, we finished post-transcriptional modifications in eukaryotes. We talked about split genes. What are split genes? Having introns, exons, having introns, exons. Having introns is split genes. Who discovered split genes? Roberts and Sharp discovered split genes. A scientist called Roberts and Sharp. What did they discover? They discovered the concept of split genes. They discovered the concept of split genes. Hope you understood in detail about the synthesis of RNA in eukaryotes. In eukaryotes, inside the nucleus transcription will happen. The RNA which is formed is not functional. It has to undergo post-transcriptional modifications like capping, tailing, splicing. If it is tRNA, formation of pseudouridine, formation of inosine, formation of dihydrouridine, all these things. In our next lecture, we'll talk about genetic code. If you like the content, like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.